Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, I am going to be discussing last night's game between the Utah Jazz and the Boston Celtics. The first half of this game was a very accurate demonstration of the two most prominent defensive schemes in today's NBA. The Utah Jazz like to run a drop coverage scheme in which they funnel all of the opposing team's on-ball action towards their big man rim protector in Rudy Gobert. In today's game, Gobert did a great job of protecting the basket as he finished with 3 blocks, and I really don't think that accurately depicts how influential he was on the Celtics, as there were multiple occasions when players like Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown were forced to greatly change the angle at which they took their shot because of Gobert's presence in the paint. He also did a great job of cleaning up the glass, finishing with 12 rebounds. However, that drop coverage scheme does have its faults. In this game, the Celtics are able to take advantage of Gobert sitting in the paint with their stretch big man in Daniel Theis. Theis finished with 15 points on 5 for 6 3-point shooting, and that probably does not happen in a regular game in which the opposing team is so willing to allow the opposing big man to stay wide open as the Jazz do, and that led to Theis's increased production and hot shooting night from beyond the arc. On the other side of the court, the Celtics run a switch-heavy scheme, and that really gave the Jazz's offense, which is very reliant on the pick and roll, a lot of fits in the first half. They really weren't able to have too many connections between their guards and Rudy Gobert, and that led to their offense sputtering a little bit, and they were looking for another answer as to how they could be able to score points in the half-court offense. And that answer came in a big way in the second half. Donovan Mitchell absolutely took over for the game, and I mean, this guy was just outstanding. He finished with 36 points on 12 for 23 shooting, made 6 of his 13 threes, made 6 of his 7 free throws. He was able to score in a multitude of ways in this game. To start it off, he was getting to the rim, utilizing his finesse and change of pace in order to create some space, where he was able to easily get off some nice layups at the basket. Later on in the game, he started to use his step-back jumper and got that going. He made a few pull-ups in this game and did a nice job in the mid-range as well. Hitting 6 threes and finishing with 9 assists is a great recipe for success for Donovan. And in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, he started to get the playmaking going. I think at least 4 or 5 of those 9 assists came in the fourth. On one occasion, he was bringing the ball up the court and spotted a wide-open Bojan Bogdanovich, who had found a hole in the Celtics zone. Bojan knocked down the 3-point look. On another occasion, Donovan was heading to the rim when he saw a wide-open Joe Ingles on the opposite wing. That was another cash bucket from beyond the arc for Utah. And then to close out the game, I believe the last 2 assists that Donovan had were a lob up to Rudy Gobert for a finish, and another occasion in which he found Gobert open in the lane. All that Rudy had to do was spin around and go up for a dunk. So Mitchell's game here was huge for the Jazz, and he really allowed this team to get cushion when the Celtics made their big runs both in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter. And Joe Ingles provided some great secondary playmaking for the Jazz in this game. He was really hot from beyond the arc, making 5 of his 11 three-point attempts. That, along with his excellent day from the free throw line, he shot 10 free throws and made 9 of them. How many times in his career has Joe Ingles shot double-digit free throws? I would be willing to wager that it is a very low number. But he was able to use his craftiness and skill in order to create a lot of contact with opposing players. He just has such a high basketball IQ, and he was really able to utilize that to his advantage in this game, and that allowed him to get to the free throw line with the frequency that he did. He also got his pick and roll chemistry going with Gobert in the second half. They started to find some holes in the Celtics defense, and that led to Gobert being open on a few lob opportunities in the third quarter, and that really led to the Jazz starting to go on the run that they did. Ingles was terrific for the Jazz with his combination of playmaking, three-point shooting, and free throw line getting to ability. So he was imperative to this win for the Jazz, and his partner in crime in the pick and roll also had a nice offensive game. Rudy Gobert had 18 points on 8 for 9 shooting. All of those were at the rim. You don't need to go too far in depth with Rudy Gobert's offense, but he did his job as an elite level rim runner in this game, and you certainly have to give him credit for finishing the buckets at the basket at a high rate, as obviously 8 for 9 shooting is outstanding. I believe that's 88.8%, if I'm not mistaken. Bojan Bogdanovich also had a solid game, finishing with 16 points and 8 rebounds on 6 for 12 shooting. He had a few really nice plays in which he attacked the rim and finished with some gusto, throwing down a few impressive dunks that you would not necessarily expect to see from Bojan. He also made a couple threes and got to the free throw line on an occasion or two. So it's not like this was anything outstanding from him, but he did what the Jazz needed him to do, and that helped them to get this win. Jordan Clarkson really struggled in this game, and the Jazz were able to bounce back from a guy who's been their second or third leading scorer this season, having this rough of a game, and they were still able to put up an impressive 122-point effort that was really boosted by their 74-point second half. They were also dealing with the loss of Mike Conley for this game, and the Celtics didn't have Marcus Smart, so both sides were hit by injury. But in the second half, you wouldn't even know that they were missing their franchise point guard, who's been a borderline all-star so far this season, because of how electric this Utah offense was. I also want to give some respect to Royce O'Neal. I think that his success so far this season with the Jazz has gone a little bit under the radar, and he has been really important to what this team is able to do. His impact so far this season has been similar to what a prime Danny Green did on the Toronto Raptors and the San Antonio Spurs. He defends the best perimeter player on the opposing team night in and night out, and on the offensive end, he can knock down catch-and-shoot three-point attempts like no other. In the past, he's always been a really important perimeter defender for this Jazz team, but the leap for him has really come with that shooting. He has vaulted himself up to being a 44% three-point shooter so far this season, and I genuinely think that that is sustainable for him due to the great looks that are created for him by the multitude of Jazz on-ball creators. O'Neal also did a fantastic job on Jason Tatum in tonight's game. He limited him to 23 points and 7 for 20 shooting, but really Tatum struggled in the first half. I believe that only 2 or 4 of those 20 came in the first, and that was largely because of Royce's ability to defend Tatum in a lot of different ways. He was able to get physical with him and prevent him from getting to the lane. He was able to block his shots from behind off of some pick and roll actions in which Tatum was trying to get some open shots from the mid-range. And I really thought that Royce did a nice job. Also finished with 9 points on 3 for 4 shooting from beyond the arc. So nice game from O'Neal. Moving over to the Celtics side of things, as I said, Tatum struggled in the first half, but in the second half he was able to get his offense going, largely because he got to the line with a much higher frequency than he did in the first. He shot 8 free throws in this game, made all of them, and I think that almost, if not all, of those attempts came in the second half. There were a few occasions in which he probably could have gotten a few more calls, but that did not go his way, and sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. Other than that, Tatum was not super efficient with his jump shot in this game, and when you're playing against a Rudy Gobert team in which it's going to be tough to get shots at the basket, you're going to have to be knocking down those shots in the mid-range and beyond the arc. But I'm not having any negative takeaway from Tatum in this game. He was playing against a great defensive team, and he had a great second half. Jaylen Brown had a great overall game. He was kind of the opposite of Tatum in this game, as he got off to a great start and then cooled off a little bit as the game continued. I believe he made 3 buckets, 3 3-pointers right away for the Celtics in that first quarter and finished with 33 points in this game. Made 12 of his 20 field goal attempts, and similar to Tatum, got to the line 8 times, although he made just 6 of those free throws. It was great to see Jalen back on the court after he missed some time. I believe he had missed like 3 or 4 games prior to this one, and he looked terrific today, especially with the jump shot falling, and he was able to get to the rim. Looked really comfortable attacking closeouts, and there were a few times in which he was able to get really crafty against Joe Ingles, who was his primary defender for large portions of this game. So it was great for Jalen to be back on the court, and definitely a promising sign for the Celtics moving forward that he appears to be back at full strength. A guy who perhaps is not at full strength, though, is Kemba Walker. Kemba has really struggled so far this season, and today's performance of 7 points on 2 for 12 shooting was not any different. At times, you just forget that Kemba is even on this team because he seems to disappear for large stretches of time. I really don't know what my diagnosis is for his struggles. It just seems like he's not able to hit shots. The looks that he gets are very difficult, and the fact that he's made them at the rate he has in the past is really a testament to the level of shooter that he was. I think that perhaps some rust came into play as he was forced to miss a lot of time with that, was it a calf injury? I'm second guessing myself now, but he had a leg injury and he missed a lot of time. I think it might have been a quad. Anyways, Kemba just needs to find his rhythm once again, and once he does, I believe that he'll be back to playing at the borderline all-star form that we are accustomed to from Kemba Walker. I think that I covered everything that I wanted to cover, so let me know what you thought of this game in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. That's going to be it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you all again very soon.